People are gathering and a time to gather. Gather within ourselves. A sense of non-distraction, collecting and recollecting. In the place that we are now, this time, this space. And a sense of welcoming. A sense of accepting and welcoming. In the present moment, in the present place. In the here and the now. Allowing the gathering, allowing the collecting, the recollecting into a space of goodwill. Into a time of well-wishing. Because this is the movement, interest in truth. Interest in that realization as best we can. Giving space, giving time. For the realization, making real the knowing, the end of stress. In the stillness. In the space. Of this time, this place. and the interest in receiving experience. Awake to the experience through the gift of attention, the gift of life, the gift of sensitivity. For all of it. Let's practice for a few minutes. Let's practice here and now in this gathering. And the power and the support of this attention given without expectation, hope or fear, regret or remorse, a willingness to bear and experience. In the only place where we can really ever be. True, peaceful, at ease. In this practice, a willingness to accept it all. And give peace, give attention, give space to all of it. However it is, in this moment, this place. And our interest is in the peace and the stillness. It allows the interruptions. It allows the agitation. It allows the hope and fears, the regrets and the remorse. The fond memories, taking them and to the peace of the stillness of here and now, or allowing them in the space and the time. In the honesty of this limitation here and now experience, awake in this here and now experience. One breath received and released. An in-breath received. The out-breath released. In this knowing, the attention given, gathered, remembered, recollected, nothing added in this receiving of the breath, nothing pushed away in the released. It's the rhythm in the stillness of attention. a sense of motivation or the sense of direction for our lives. I often, you've heard me recommend being in touch with a sense of well-wishing that I feel that life in its confused sensitivity and response to sensitivity that is life. We seek the best for ourselves. Life seeks the best for itself. It may be very limited. Simple life forms are limited with their sensitivity and response. Humans are very powerful in their response. Maybe limited in their sensitivity initially, but powerful in their will to respond. And that's the area that we can give a training to. The wise resolution or direction or intention is this non-harming, non-exploiting and non-indulging. The basis of sammasankappa. And the factor of wisdom when its foundation is in the assumption or the perspective or the paradigm that in the doing of things that are wholesome, there'll be a wholesome result. And the first wholesome thing to really practice is not doing things that are harmful, exploitative, or indulgent. That's what man can work at. This is sabbapapasa karuna. No, they're not doing of things that are unwholesome. Or thinking and acting with an unwholesome heart, unwholesome direction. And that's a good start. And to notice when that does happen and give some recollection and remembrance, recollecting and reconnecting with the impulse to actually reduce suffering now and in the future. That's the doing. If you want to, first of all, stop doing, but then to do things that reduce suffering now and in the future for yourself and for others. And that does require a willingness to bear with pain. That's what compassion is about, the willingness to bear and experience the pain and then do something about it. So noticing the pain and giving attention to that. So when there's the noticing that the actions of thought or of speech or of body are harmful, are exploitative, are indulgent, and the pain that that causes, then doing something that shifts that or doesn't follow that, and that's about, generating blessings. The blessing, the first blessing is not causing the harm, not the exploitation and not the indulgence. That's the first blessing for others and for oneself, because indulgence is definitely self-harming. It's a type of overload, which is the senses then can't really respond adequately to, or intelligently to, because the indulgence is getting lost in the sensory experience without a perspective on it. And that is a desensitizing. Indulgence is actually desensitizing, and that's a type of death, so it's a type of harming. So noticing that within oneself, indulging in the way that one thinks, in the way that one speaks, and in the way that one does, and in the way that one thinks, is to careful of where one lets one's train of thought go. What does one give attention to? What does one give energy to in the trains of thought that one follows about oneself or about others? And that's where the thinking, then because then it goes out from the thought into based on whatever emotions or whatever things, other sort of incoherent or unrecognized impulses within. Then the thoughts bubble up and flow around, and then they come out in the speech and they come out in the actions. So careful with that. How do you think about yourself? How do you think about others? And then how does that? Now, what I really try to do now is to really try to appreciate others and notice the goodness of others, and try to notice the good in others. It helps also when I try to notice the good in myself, but also noticing the good in others. It helps in that relationship. And then through that, I'm thinking, well, what can I do to help? What's the most blessing that can be generated from this breath? This breath that is given, and this breath that's released. What's the blessings that can be brought in this life? So in community with other people, again, recognizing that this is an opportunity to share blessings, the blessings of this thing called life, because it is an incredible blessing, an incredible power. Now, we can all, well, maybe some of us, maybe not all of us, can remember thinking, I didn't ask to be born. It wasn't my idea. And how immature that dwelling in that aversion to the sensitivity and the gift that we've received. You know, it's all my parents' fault. It's all society's fault. And I'm not trying to say that there aren't harmful forces. Both within one's own heart and from outside. I'm not trying to deny that. But the possibility of liberation, if one has come across this teaching, if one has come to hear the possibility, then the possibility of practicing basic generosity of heart is there. And the generosity of heart is also the willingness to accept. And those two sides of generosity, there's a giver and a receiver. And part of this is receiving the whole of this, whatever affliction one might experience. And then transforming it as best one can. So, and whatever mistakes one might have made, and the willingness to learn from them and not pretend that they haven't happened or try to ignore them. Because ignorance, and not even knowing that when we're ignoring them, because ignorance is really ignorant. So, I really encourage the sense of what blessing can I bring to this moment, this time, this community where I find myself, where I find this body and mind, because it's a strange thing. So, notice if there's a dwelling in negativity towards oneself or one's relationship in the place, or to what's happening, or a sense of I can't cope, a sense of pushing away, a sense of I don't want this. This is not the way that I would do it. Notice that and offer a sense of what can really happen that can help. It's not to even reject the sense of negativity, because the negativity is the negativity. It's noticing something could be wrong, and that's okay. But dwell more in the sense of what's the kindest way to relieve this possible thing that's wrong. What's the kindest way to allow this thing to shift? What's the way that is generating less stress when things are wrong for myself and for others? And that might be, I can't cope with that right now. That's also okay. The sense of, nope, later, or nope, there needs to be a stop there, because I can't do it. Or, what can I offer? In a community, seeing how the relationship works. We all actually are social beings. And I've mentioned a few times that one of the ways of testing how well one's spiritual practice is going is in the people around you. How does that, is there less stress in your relationship with the people around you? Are the people around you suffering less? As best you can. The people you know, the people who are friendly to you, the people who you don't know, and the people who are maybe enemies of you. Are they suffering less in the relationship that you bring to this moment? Because these are relating things. They're alive. They receive and they respond. This is what life is about. Receiving and responding. People say seeking and reacting, which is seeking a result and reacting to things, which is, a generating of stress. Seeking a result either to get something or to get rid of something, and reacting on that, so that trying to get what one wants and get rid of what one doesn't want. That's one way of talking about life. Receiving and responding is maybe kinder. There's a sort of kinder sort of feeling to it in English anyway. Receiving experience and then responding from a sense of what blessings can be brought to this breath. This breath that is received and then released. Because you try to grab a breath and that makes it stressful. You try to say, well, I not let go of a breath, and that makes it stressful. Trying to push away a breath is also stressful. It's the breath is just, the simplest thing that we can turn to, but then there's all the rest of the experience that we receive and respond to. And how do we do that? The nutriments, the food, the sensing, the impression, the impulses, the thoughts, and the consciousness. How do we respond to those? And how do we receive that? And give attention to the heart. That's the suggestion, is to, that's where the transformation takes place. And that's where is this heart working? What's happening here? And knowing that. And recognizing that, when that's known, the impulse is to elevate it, release it. And to find where there's no further problems being made. It's a breath at a time. It's a moment at a time. It's here, and it's now that this practice is done. And the short little introduction of quiet of 15 minutes is just an encouragement, I feel, that in this format that is broadcasted through this weird medium and then recorded and then rebroadcasted. So wherever it is in time and space where this is being seen and heard, the encouragement is to give this time, this space, this here, this now, wherever it is, throughout time and space, the care and attention that will support an end to further stress. Because this is what humans can do. They are, when they work according to their manual, they are happiness creators. That's when they work to fulfill their potential. That is the blessing of human beings, is that they're happiness creators, and the happiness that is free from any dependency, a happiness independent of conditions, griefless and secure. This is the blessing that we can really bring to this moment. And it's there. It's possible. And to realize it in this moment, wherever this moment is in time and space, and recognize that it's offered throughout time and space, in all time and space. It's possible. That's the sort of assumption or the paradigm or the perspective or the position or the view that one can rest in or practice, that this is possible through understanding the stresses that are inherent in this separation, inherent in this uncertainty, inherent in this whole business of irritation, which is life. Because it's receiving sense impression, receiving impressions is irritating. Because that's, otherwise, if it's not irritating, then there's no movement, there's nothing. And these things, these humans are incredibly sensitive in what can be. And they shut down, of course their sensitivity goes down, but the possibility is there. And ignoring the sensitivity is a source of more problems, because then there's not knowing the sensitivity that is possible. And not knowing that we don't know, that's the ignorance that drives the compulsion. But it's possible, and there is an end. There is the place where thought isn't. And that's knowing thought, knowing things. You can know what's not. You can know the background. You can know it's not even us that are doing it. It's just the way that the whole thing works. It's just how things turn out. If you shift, there's the shift from what I can get out of it into what blessings can be brought, what blessings can be given to the situation that I find myself, this funny thing that I called I. What blessings can I bring? What blessings can be brought to the here and now, the time and space? And the Lord Buddha figured it out, and that's why compassion, which reduces stress, compassion that knows stress, that knows pain, compassion that experiences fully with wisdom, transforms it, or finds ways that it can cease, finds where it ends. finds where stress ends, finds where there are ways to not generate more problems, not get caught in a sense of wanting to harm oneself or exploit or indulge. So this is my ramblings for this now, this place, this year. And maybe some of them are useful and maybe some of them are not. The intention is to use words which are always incomplete, unsatisfactory, to suggest ways that a sense of willingness to bring blessings to the moment is encouraged in the present moment. And that is something that is worked on. And if you feel this has been a curse or in some ways hindered you, then I recognize that there's been mistakes and there probably incompleteness. But what it might be useful then, please take and use. Maybe things have not been properly explained or incompletely explained or over-explained. So I'll leave space for further questions and hope that some of it might be a little bit useful to somebody somewhere in the present moment, here and now. Thank you. And if there are questions that people have saved up, then do type them in or cut and paste. We'll see what we can do. Okay, thank you. Let's guess. Suzuki, thank you. Different people in different times. What are the most important aspects of Dhamma to remember and to practice in daily life? Depend on time and space. Be here now. Figure out the best thing to do is here and now. I don't, don't come with a plan. Make that be the plan that I don't have a plan. It's a because the sense of me having to do something is going to be difficult. As I mentioned, the sense of what blessings can I bring is something that you can do. But when we see people suffer, and it's beyond our ability to help, I'm not sure what the best way is to deal with our feelings of compassion and sadness. And I don't know about that either. I think I was reading a book written by somebody who had a conversation with Luang Por Chah, and I think it probably does appear in one of his books, one of his things about the Luang Por Chah there was some work going on in the monastery, and there was this huge rock. It was there, and so this person was talking about problems, and Luang Por Chah pointed at the rock and said, "Is that rock heavy?" And the person looked at it and thought, "Well, it would take a few people to move that. It's really heavy." And And the Buddha just said, well, it's only heavy if you try to move it. So with some things, and I heard the other thing was, there was all the problems happening in Cambodia towards the end of the 70s, or through the 70s. And people asked him Portugal about those. And he said, I just don't have the wisdom to know what the right thing is. And I think part of it is recognizing limitation. And look, the Lord Buddha couldn't even do very much about Devadatta, his cousin. No, there are limits to what is possible to do the best one can with the limitations. I think deal with the people directly around you if you can. I don't know what to do about all the people that one maybe passes on the street when one doesn't know how to help them. It's really difficult. I don't. Those, and one does have limitations, and you have to know when you have to say, "Well, I can't deal with that." Somebody came up today as we were preparing for this meeting, and they wanted to engage with me, and I just had to say, "I'm sorry, I don't have the time or the energy right now. I don't." And I think he was only wanting to say thank you. I don't know. It wasn't. It was just like, oh, I can't. I don't have it, and that is aversion, and I recognize that. It's a sense of being overwhelmed. So I tried to do it as kindly as possible, but I had to recognize I can't cope. I think I needed something, and that neediness came over and caused more stress in myself and probably in him. But it was the limit of what I could do. That was it. Well, he had some books. He's been before. He'll probably live. So, we can't solve everybody's problems all the time. Much as we'd like to, and much as we'd really wish that all beings were completely enlightened, very selfishly, I wish that, because it would make my life much, much easier. I wish all beings were completely free from all suffering. And I can say that, with all honesty. I used to have trouble with that sense of may all beings be free. But the more I recognize the pain here, the more I really wish that all beings were completely enlightened, because it would make my life much, much easier.